In management, you don't owe people the answer that they want, but you owe them the why. Okay, so if you don't remember anything else, this one is a totally counterintuitive point. Okay, so some managers, and especially with young managers, will be like, I'm sorry we got to do all these cold calls, but Kevin Obarski's on my ass, and if we don't do these cold calls, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. Can you please make some cold calls? Because Kevin's insisting it, right? All right, I'm being a little silly with the example, but it's one of the worst mistakes you can make as a manager, right? And this is a counterintuitive point. You don't want to blame the boss. You don't want to blame the client, right? If you actually have something where there's a bad guy, or someone has to say, look, I'm sorry, you have to work the weekend because our client needs it. It's an emergency. And the next time this comes around, we'll choose somebody else, but I really need you to do it. If you have to ask somebody to do something there has to be a bad guy. I say this all the time, point the arrows at me, like I'm the person asking you to do this. Because if you're the manager that is trying to blame your manager, trying to blame the company, trying to blame the client, what are you really doing? You're making yourself a cog. You're telling to your people subliminally, I think that's a word, that you're a cog in the wheel, that you're kind of a victim in the system. You're not really driving things. You're just, there's this other force that's, making us have to work late or whatever the case is. So I would challenge you, and this is a very counterintuitive point. I would challenge you, if there has to be bad news, deliver the bad news and take the whatever the blame is, or have them point the arrows at you. Because if they think it's something else, if you try to put that off to someone else, you're going to hurt the foundation of your credibility and your respect that you're building. All right, you're going to decrease your respect in the organization. Okay. Next slide. Another reason why this doesn't work is I had a slide at the beginning yesterday, or kickoff presentation. You are the company, right? So you can act like you're something different, but at the end of the day, for the person underneath you in the org chart that's on your team, you still are the company, right? So you can't really, even though you can, try to separate yourself or be on the other side of the decision and say, God, I think this is a terrible thing, but we have to do it, right? You're better off getting the why, getting the real reason, and then communicating that to your team. Oh, by the way, none of this is meant to tell you guys not to be change agents and not to do something about problems. But it's obviously better, and it's going to sound like an obvious point, but if there's a problem with the organization or the policies or something like that, please don't take it down the line, because what good does it do, right? What good does it do to take a problem to somebody that reports to you? If you truly have a problem and you want to make this make TransPerfect a better place, and you want to be an agent of change, right? And you want to be a more powerful manager and a better executive, take the problem upstream, right? Like, you can talk about it with your peers as the kind of a sounding board, but if you really want to get a problem solved, talking about it to somebody that works for you is not going to solve it, right? It's just going to make you seem like less powerful and more like a cog in the wheel. But if you want to be an agent of change, please be one. Like, we need a lot of help here to grow this organization. Be an agent of change and take it up the ladder. And you're not always going to, and this is next slide. You're not always going to get the answer that you want, but you definitely have to get the why. Okay? So who's in, how many people in sales? Lots. Okay, how many people in production? Lots more. Okay. So in our systems, if a salesperson, now the salesperson is totally based on commission, right? So a salesperson sells a job, and then someone in the production center, in the production department, puts that job in the wrong language, right? Totally screws the pooch. Problem, big problem. Then you have to pay a rush fee, get the job translated into the correct language. And what's the markup on that job? If you're 1.5, you're really good. Or let's 0.9, 1. Like, there is no markup on the job, right? Now, the salesperson actually makes nothing on that. But the salesperson filled out the job sheet correctly. All the instructions were correct, right? The salesperson makes nothing in that scenario under our systems. Is that fair? Anybody? Who thinks it's fair? 2 people, 5, 10 people. Who thinks it's unfair? Many more people. Okay, so we're not doing a good job explaining the why. So the truth is, I'm going to sit up here and say it's exactly fair, and not only is it fair, it's by design. Because let's just say what happens here. Let's say there's no pain, nothing happens. The project gets returned, a 1.0 markup goes in, the company doesn't make any money, the salesperson makes full commission. What is going to change? Where does the impetus for change come? Actually, it is completely by design, because that salesperson needs to talk to their manager through the appropriate chain of command and demand some change. Because if production keeps putting the jobs into the wrong languages over and over again, and we keep decreasing the profit margin, then something has to force that issue to be undertaken. So it is actually completely by design that even though the salesperson didn't do something wrong, they are the closest person to the issue. They are the ones with the most to gain or lose, and they need to escalate that problem to their manager in a professional way and try to find out what is the problem in this production center that is creating zero markup jobs or whatever it is, right? So if you didn't understand that why before, that's the why for it. And think about that, because that happened. These kind of things happen so many times per day and per week, where people really don't understand the why about certain policies, right? And so, again, as a manager, you will not owe people the answer that they want. The answer may be yes or no, or maybe, or God knows what. But whatever you do, you owe them your thought process, or the company's thought process, or why things are a certain way, right? So again, in management, you don't owe people the answer that they want, but you owe them the why.